are some politicians, as I mentioned, who are not taking the same stance that Vivek Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley are taking, or even Ron DeSantis. And some of these are Chris Christie, Mike Pence, as well as, and the person I want to talk about for a second, Mitt Romney, which is one of my senators. Mitt Romney is such an interesting case. He's a great case of why you should support your own party, especially in this instance. Mitt Romney, I grew up loving. He was like a hero, just for Utah as well as Massachusetts and other states. Like, people loved him. He was going to be the one that was going to take out Obama. It was going to be awesome. But recently, he's been taking this kind of fake high ground where he's literally supporting the very thing that his constituents hate. And again, this is a video for another day. Donald Trump does the exact same thing. To be quite frank, Donald Trump does not deserve the support he's getting from his Republican colleagues, because Donald Trump attacks Republicans regularly, and not for things that are popular for Republicans. There are some kind of establishment Republicans, and when they're attacked, everyone's kind of like, yeah, that's great. But Donald Trump doesn't always do that. And so it's not smart to do that, especially when you're trying to win a primary, which Mitt Romney will be in 2024, just like Donald Trump is. And so I just can't quite understand why, if you want financial support from your party, it's not, a lot of it is finances, a lot of it's money, but it's not just finances. If you just want support and goodwill, period, from your party, do not attack the front runner of that party. The president in the United States, the president or whoever was the front runner, even if they lost, is essentially the leader of the party. That's how it works. We've seen it with Joe Biden. He has led the party, the Democrat Party. Donald Trump really changed the Republican Party in those 4 years, 2016 to 2020. And so if that's the way the party's going, you can be fake self-righteous and dig your heels in and attack your colleagues, but it's probably not going to work out for you. And if I had to bet, Mitt Romney's not going to have a fun time in 2024. It's very unclear right now, like I said, what the sentencing will be for Donald Trump, but I am very skeptical that he's going to go to jail for any amount of time. I think there would be pretty crazy cultural consequences to that. And I think even most Democrats could see that would be very dangerous. It'd be a very dangerous precedent to set. And I think mostly what you'll see is maybe a mugshot of Donald Trump, a lot of money paid, and just the same way as when he was impeached. When he was impeached, no one actually thought he'd be removed from office. It was just simply a symbol, and that's what Democrats and the Department of Justice were going for this. The thing about this that is so annoying and so difficult to hear as a conservative is the hypocrisy of the justice system, which the justice system largely is based on liberal principles. The rule of law, for instance, the fact that everyone in a liberal society is supposed to be treated equally under the law is really frustrating. And a lot of liberals are saying that Donald Trump should have been indicted because everyone should be equal under the law. But here's the reality. Hillary Clinton was not indicted after her email debacle, and Joe Biden has had many more documents than Donald Trump in many more places, and he has also not been indicted. So if you're a liberal, and here's the deal, if you're a liberal and you think, I think Donald Trump should have been indicted and that's the way it should be, I hear you. I think that's an argument that I don't personally agree with, but I think it's reasonable, and I could understand why someone would say that. But that means that you must also believe that Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden should be indicted for the same reasons. And here's the deal. Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton do not have something that Donald Trump has, which is the Presidential Act of 1978. Neither of them were president when they had those files found in their personal residences or convention centers. All of the files that were found for Joe Biden were when he was a senator, which the Presidential Act, or the Presidential Records Act, does not apply to. It does not apply to senators. We know Hillary Clinton was never a president or a vice president, so it does not apply to her either. So there's no question that they're not protected under that. The question is, were there mishandling of documents between the two? And we know that there were, therefore they need to be indicted as well now that Trump has been indicted. And for that reason, I never thought Donald Trump would be federally indicted for mishandling documents, because I did not think that the Department of Justice would overstep this so much, and yet they have. And it's actually very scary and very crazy that a party that purports to be more liberal has completely abandoned the rule of law. It's also important to recognize that it is Biden's Department of Justice. Like, we cannot look at this as the Department of Justice. It is Biden's Department of Justice. So this was an act, like a concerted effort from Biden to indict Donald Trump. And I do not know exactly why he did that, and I don't know what the end goal was exactly for that. But we have to understand that this wasn't just the Department of Justice. This was Biden's Department of Justice. The question that a lot of people have the only reason why anyone cares about this story is, how will this affect Donald Trump in 2024? How will it affect the election? I think that Republicans can learn some lessons from this. I've always said, like, this is something that I really enjoy about Ron DeSantis specifically, is that just because something bad happens to you politically, it does not mean that you just get a whine about it. You need to find a solution to it. And so Donald Trump can take this indictment and he can whine about it, and he can complain, and he can talk about how corrupt our country is, or he can go out and fight it. And so I think Republicans, what they need to do is they need to take the rules that Biden has set, and they need to play by those rules. And hopefully when they get into power, they can diffuse the situation, and they can, especially when they put conservative judges into place, they can make it so that these things don't happen as frequently. But if Biden is going to use the Department of Justice to indict Trump, if he is able to be president, or any conservative Republican who makes it into office in 2024, needs to do the same to Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It's that simple. And you're going to hear the media complain and whine about how evil and undemocratic Republicans are. And the simple response is, you guys set the rule. We're simply just following the rule that you set. The other thing that's important is that there is a lesson to learn that Republicans need to be clean. Now, I'm not saying that Democrats aren't going to always scoop up crap. The media is so corrupt at this point. They will literally pick on anything. I mean, Mitt Romney, like the most clean person ever at the time that he ran for president, the only thing that they could get him on was that he was like super rich, and that once he went on a car trip and like strapped his dog in a kennel to the top of his car. That's literally what they could find on him. So they'll find something, and they'll try to make it look as bad. Like, they'll try to make him look like Hitler the most that they can. But the reality is that most Americans see through the stupid crap that the media come up with. But when there's actual dirt on you, that is not helpful. I'm not saying Donald Trump should have been indicted, but he did mishandle the documents. Like, that happened. Okay? That's a fact. It happened. You have to deal with it. Now, if you want to say, hey, that is a bad precedent to start, we are not indicting presidents, and if you're going to indict him, you got to indict the rest. Sure, I'm on board for that. But you got to understand that he actually did do something bad. And so perhaps as Republicans, you ought to vote for those who you think are the cleanest and have the lowest chance of being indicted. I think that is a productive way to do politics, even though it's not the only thing to consider. I'm not saying it's the only thing to consider when voting, but it is certainly a thing to consider, especially in 2024, knowing that Democrats have already done this once and they will continue to do so. One thing that Donald Trump said continually was, lock her up. He said that over and over again with Hillary Clinton. So I have to say, just to be fair, as Republicans, can you be that angry when the left says lock him up? He did do something wrong. Hillary Clinton also did something wrong. I would argue did something much worse. Again, there's still an argument to be made for Donald Trump that he was within his presidential powers because of the Presidential Record Act. But I think it's important to realize that Donald Trump literally was telling people lock her up. Now, again, fairness to Donald Trump, he didn't do that. He didn't go after her. In fact, he publicly said he wouldn't. And I think that was a smart move, because being a benevolent leader, which I can't even believe I'm saying Donald Trump was benevolent, because I don't know if it like ever happened except this once. But just showing kind of that benevolency is like the best political move you can. Basically, at that point, Donald Trump was saying, like, I won. I don't even need to, because winners don't need it, right? Like true winners don't need to rub it in to the losers. And that's what Donald Trump did. But I just want to say, with all fairness, he did say lock her up. And so it makes sense that the left would do the same. And for those out there who are on the left who are saying lock him up, I think it makes sense. They hate him just like people on the right hate Hillary Clinton. And fair enough. They used whatever powers they could to get rid of him. I just think the Republicans ought to do the same now that they've set that precedence.